Everything that we do reflects a lifestyle. I go hard for God daily cause I'm God's child. I got a purpose that I'm doing on purpose. Firm foundation, 10 toes meet the surface. Something always happen when I bless His name. My faith got me standing tall like Great Danes. Holy Spirit's in the room. Holy Spirit's in the room. We don't have to light a candle. We don't have to light a candle. Go ahead and let your light shine. Don't let your light shine. And treat the word as a handle.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Kirby Love, the CEO, founder, Go Hard for God Daily, and welcome to another episode, the final episode of Get Inspired. This is episode number 6. We are concluding season 1 with this episode right here. There's so many things that I could talk about, so many things that I could go into, but I've been led to just encourage you guys as we get ready to close out this year. So before I get into all of that though, just want to let you guys know that we really appreciate your love. We really appreciate your support. It has been felt. We thank you guys for sharing the content, the clips, the full episodes. We thank you guys for all of our frequent followers, our frequent sharers, those who are really just taking the next step to help us reach the masses. One thing that we don't do here is we don't try to be the best Christian anything. We don't try to be the most well known. We don't try to be God's favorite brand or anything like that. One of the things that we focus on here is just maintaining our true authenticness. The true authenticness. Does that even make sense? Our true authenticness. We're just trying to be true and authentic to who we are. Those who God has called us to, we try to serve those efficiently and effectively and with excellence and to the max capacity that we're able to do with the assets, with the resources, with whatever it is that God has given us to do that. So that is what we are. That is where we stand, and we'll always live by that and go by that. So whenever you see Go Hard for God Daily, just know that we ain't in competition with nobody. All right, we're just being true. We've been authentic and real with whatever God has given us. So right now, God has given us you, and we're grateful that you're here, that you're tuning in, that you're listening to the podcast, that you're getting inspired, because this is what this platform is here for, to inspire you. And not just to inspire you from a motivational side of things where you feel like, okay, I just get a good word and I'm going on about my business. If you do that, then that's okay. But what we love to do is to give you things, instill things into you that you can not just be inspired or encouraged for the moment, but you can take these things and apply them to your day-to-day life and see you grow spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, in every area of your life. And not only are you able to grow, but you're able to impact the people who are around you. So that is what we're about. That is what we love to do right here on the Get Inspired podcast. And again, we just want to thank you guys so much for your support and everything that you are doing, whether it be sharing, whether it's liking, whether it's commenting, whether it's just telling somebody about it, whatever it is that you're doing to support Go Hard for God Daily, the Get Inspired podcast. We're grateful for you. Thank you. And we're going to continue to produce whatever God gives us to produce. Content-wise, to bless you guys each and every time that you tune in to another episode. So again, this is the final episode for season number 1. Season 1 has been good. It has been challenging. There's been some curveballs. It started off one way and now it's ending a whole nother way, where we will have guests on here giving their stories and testimonies and talking about how they navigate life in their particular areas. So again, but we're still going to be doing that. But again, like I said in another episode, whatever God desires for this platform, then that's what we're going to roll with. And I just follow whatever God has. So if the shift is for this format to be what it is that He desires, and this is what we're going to roll with. Again, the data has shown that a lot of people have really been blessed by the past 2 episodes. And we're grateful also for our guests who were on the first three. A lot of people have been blessed by their testimonies, their stories, and the things that they've shared as well. So we're just thankful for every avenue that we're able to walk into, and whatever it is that God is, whatever the direction is that God is putting us in right now. So right now, this is the format that we're in. So where I'm hosting and doing them and encouraging you guys and bringing messages and words and all that good stuff. But I wanted to get into something today. We're getting ready to close out for this year. And as we get ready to close out the year 2020, usually you start seeing the 2023 is going to be my year. You start seeing I'm done with this, I'm done with that, or I'm starting over, or, you start getting all of these things. And one of the things that I found out is, through observation, through conversation, and all the other Asians that I probably can go down, I found that a lot of people recite the same thing every year. It's the same word. You're preparing for your best year. This year has been challenging, and these things may be true, but what we want to do is at some point break a cycle. At some point, you have to be in a place where you're willing and ready to break a cycle. But in order for you to break a cycle, you have to first be able to identify what the cycle is that you're in. If you can't identify the cycle that you're in, then you're not going to be able to break that cycle. And this particular cycle is one that a lot of people are in, where every time around December 15th, the middle of the year, that's when they start rolling out 2023 is going to be my year. I had some struggle, I had some ups, I had some downs, but not again. Listen, 2023, guess what? You're probably going to have some struggles. You're probably going to have some ups. You're probably going to have some downs. You're probably going to have some financial problems. You're probably going to have some marital problems. You're probably going to have some work problems. You're probably going to have a whole lot of problems. But the problems are not the issue. The issue is the mindset that you have to deal with the problems. So at some point, that cycle has to be broken. All right. I'm already getting ahead of, I feel like, where I wanted to be, where I was going to go. But we're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep rolling with it. We have to be able to break these cycles. All right. And if you can identify where you are and the things that you constantly do, because sometimes you're in the same cycle, but you can't see that it's the same cycle because you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it in a different way. So the first thing that you have to do right now, wherever you are, and this is me encouraging you guys going into 2023, identify where you are right now. If you can identify where you are right now, the next thing that you need to do is be honest with yourself where you are right now. If you can be honest with yourself, then that is one of the first steps of you moving forward and breaking a cycle for the next year, the next month, the next day, whatever the next is. You have to identify where you are. Once you identify where you are, you have to be real with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Number one, is this where I wanted to be? Is this where I'm going to stay? What have I done? What have I not done? You have to put it all on you. Everything may not be your fault, but you can't always blame people for the position that you're in, for the place that you're in. Right? You can't always put the blame on people. There are so many times where people are looking at their current situation and they're saying, well, if I didn't talk to this guy and he didn't waste my time, then I wouldn't be in this place where I'm at. Or if I ain't deal with that shot over there for the past 2 years or the past 6 months, man, I could have been somewhere else. Or if I didn't do this, I hear this conversation all the time, but the conversation is never, man, if I had taken my time in that relationship, if I had taken my time and just prayed about the situation, prayed about the job, if I had prayed about this, if I had done, I don't really hear that a lot. I don't hear a lot of people saying, if I had done. It's always, this person did this, This person wasted my time. There's no self-assessing of what you did, what you could have done better, and the things that you did wrong. Figure out where you are. Be honest, be real, be open with yourself. That's going to be your first step of breaking cycles. That's going to be the first step of breaking cycles. And here's something I want to present to you guys. This is what the enemy likes to do. And I'm going to talk about this probably in another podcast about presentations. Basically, it's how things are presented to you. One of the things that the enemy likes to do is present the same things in different forms, right? And this is why a lot of people, some people don't go as deep in talking about spiritual warfare. Some people don't go in the depths of talking about how spirits are dealing with different people and how you end up with the same, like it's a different guy, different body, but he does the same thing the last guy did. Why do we keep ending up in these same relationships, going through these same things, right? We're talking about cycles now. Why do we keep doing this? So there's a spiritual awareness that you have to have in part of you breaking cycles. All right. There's discernment that you need to have in part of you breaking cycles. But if you don't have these things, then what's going to happen is you're going to continue to stay in the same things, deal with the same people, keep going through the same trials and tribulations. And it's not because of some things that God is sending you through the fire. God is pruning, God is developing, God is strengthening. It's things that you can control that you're not controlling. And that causes you to stay within the same cycle. All right. So I'm encouraging you guys as you get ready to go into this new year. Identify where you are right now. Be real, be open, be honest with yourself. As you do that self-assessment, as you be open and honest with yourself, then start writing the things down that needs to change. As you start writing the things down that needs to change, then you need to start making the steps to the changes that need to be made. A lot of times what we're doing is writing these visions. We got vision boards. We got all these different things that we want to do for 2023. I got my vision, and then you put your vision board. You got this whole wall and whatever y'all use to make your vision board. And there's a card there on the board. There's a house there on the board. There's a bank on the board. There's all these different things that's on this vision board. But there's no spiritual maturity on the board. There's no building relationship with God on the board. There's no identifying purpose on the board. We're putting a lot of things priority that's really secondary and byproducts. The things that we put priority in our life of should be byproducts of us walking in purpose. I'm going to say that again. The things that we put as primary a lot of times on vision boards and things that we look to do for goals and things like that, they should be byproducts of us walking in purpose. That should be a byproduct of you being obedient to the will of God for your life. That stuff, let me put it in a simple term. That stuff should just come because you're doing what you're supposed to do in Christ. Because you're being who you are in Christ. Now, am I saying that all of these things are going to come, cars, house, money, all this other kind of stuff, marriage, whatever, all the stuff you want to name? Am I saying that all of that's going to come because you're in purpose, because you're living for God, because you're in Christ? No, I'm not telling you that. However, I'm saying that God will bless you with those things through obedience, and you don't have to always just strive to work for those things. But you have to recalibrate yourself, recalibrate life, identify your purpose, identify where you are, be real, be open, be honest with yourself, and say, this is where I am. This is what I'm dealing with. This is what I struggle with this year. This is where I want to grow. These are areas that I can grow in. These are doors that I desire to eventually walk in. These are certificates that I need. These are certifications that I need. This is things that I need to help me get to the place that I really want to be. Identify where you are. You're going to keep hearing me say this because I want to instill this in you guys as you get ready to go into the new year, as you get ready to go into the next phase of life, period. Identify where you are. Be real, be open, be honest with yourself. And as you be real, open, and honest with yourself, that is your first step. That's your first block where you start at. And we're not going to be taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. We're not doing that. That's a cycle. That's a cycle. And a lot of times it's self-inflicted while we keep going 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 4 steps forward, 8 steps back. That's a cycle. We're breaking that right now by being real, honest, and open with ourselves and knowing where we are. Identifying who we are, identifying our purpose, identifying our mistakes, identifying our wrongs, correcting those things, and putting ourselves in a place where we can progress. So for 2023, the first thing that I want you to do, well, this is a recommendation, is to identify where you are. As you identify where you are, go through those steps, everything that I've listed off already. And once you go through those steps, it'll be time for you to start something. Start something. That's the first start. But what I mean by start something, I'm talking about start the school. You've been talking about going to school for a while. Go to school. Start. You've been talking about starting a business for a while. Start. You've been talking about getting engaged, getting married, all these different things. Start, begin, start, have a process that you begin to go through to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. Start somewhere. After you have identified where you are so that you don't go through the same cycles, so that you don't repeat the same things that you've repeated for the past 7 years, for the past 6 years, for the past 15 years. This is a time now where you're about to start breaking cycles. And you're about to start setting yourself up, not just yourself, but even those who come after you. Sometimes we don't realize that some things has to start with us. I think a lot of times there's a lot of people who are looking from things of old, from things from the past, and they're trying to come into those things that are no longer there. And then we feel like, well, somebody owes me something. But the thing that you feel like somebody owe you, those things are no longer there. This is where your fresh start begins. This is where your starting over begins to take place. Sometimes you are the one who has to start whatever it is for the next generation. Whether it's for your kids, whether it's for your kids, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you are the one to start that. And the reason being is because maybe the people before you were in a cycle and they were never able to progress and move forward to bigger and better things. And then at some point you fell in that same cycle. Not realizing that you was in that cycle. But once you identify it, be real, be open, be honest with yourself. Then that's when you say, now I'm the one about to break this cycle. And it's not a competition breaking cycle, but it's understanding that things should get better over time. Things should get better over time. Meaning that if my great grandfather did something And then my father did something in a certain way. And if we continue to go down the line and everybody is just doing the same exact thing, there's no change, there's no better, then that is a problem. Things are supposed to get better. You're supposed to be growing all the time. Not get into a place of traditional things and upholding the same things because they're traditional, even though they may be wrong. And that's where a lot of people are right now. Holding on to traditional things, even though they may be wrong. Holding on to tradition, even though tradition don't progress you in life. Holding on to tradition and routine things just because that's the way everybody else did it. Sometimes you have to understand the why those things took place. There was a story that I heard about a lady who cut the tail off the ham every time she would put it in the oven. And then the question came up, well, why you cut the tail off of the ham every time you put it in the oven? And the response was, because my mama did it. And then if you go down the line, and she would say, because my mama did it. But then once you get down to the root of the issue, it was only because the pan wasn't long enough for the ham to fit in. So it wasn't that the tail of the ham had to be cut. But over time, things got better. Pans got bigger. We got pots and pans, all kind of sizes. And the whole ham can fit in there. But we still cut the tail of the ham off. Not realizing that it was only done because a pot or a pan or whatever was used wasn't big enough for it to fit. Over time, things have gotten better. Pans have gotten bigger. Pots have gotten bigger. Stoves have gotten bigger. They went from wood to electric, from electric to gas, and things have gotten better. So as things get better, therefore, you should understand the why and know the reason for you keeping traditions. And if you was doing this tradition or keeping this tradition, what was the point of it? Is it still relevant for today? Is this going to change everything? Anything? Has things changed since that began? But this is where we are. This is where we are. So, in my encouragement, me encouraging you guys to move forward into the next year, find a starting place. And that starting place is the first thing we listed. Identifying where you are, being open, being honest. Again, you're going to continue to hear me say this the whole podcast because I'm trying to instill something that's going to progress you forward in life. I'm trying to give you something that you can take and not just be encouraged or inspired for today. But every time you open a refrigerator, every time you get in your car, every time you talk to somebody, you can say, let me be real. Let me be open and honest where I am. Even if that's weight loss. And that's why I say open the refrigerator. I'm real, open, and honest where I'm at. We're not going to stay in the same cycle where we just keep doing the same thing. And then the next year roll around and we start saying the same old stuff again over and over and over again. We didn't make no progress in life. We didn't make no progress in purpose. And you are the one to blame. You are the one to blame. Every single person walking has a purpose in life. Every single person walking and breathing has a purpose to fulfill. Part of that fulfilling of the purpose is your response and your obedience to the will of God. And a lot of times we don't respond to the will of God because we've been accustomed to pleasing ourselves according to what our flesh desires. So once we become accustomed to pleasing what our flesh desires, listen, it feels good. I don't know if anybody ever told you that before, but I guarantee you have experienced pleasing your flesh. Pleasing your flesh feels good. And this can be in so many type of ways. I know sexually probably could be the first thing come to people's mind, but listen, when you eat, that is pleasing to you. To feel full, to feel good, the taste of something, whether it's drinking, whether it's eating, like that feels good. So many times we become accustomed to just pleasing our flesh, pleasing what it wants, and to the point where we never actually walk and move and purpose the things that we're supposed to do, because the flesh is in a place where it makes us blind to the things of God. So this is why you have to submit to God daily. We talked about this in another episode about staying connected to God, and this is why it's so important. Because the moment that if you don't stay connected to God, then there's no dying to yourself. There's no dying to self. Dying to self meaning that you're able and you're in a place where you can turn down the desires of the flesh for the desires of God. Now, is it always a thing where you're going to be like starving or something like that? Sometimes it's just a matter of you not getting up out of the bed. The moment that you feel like you need to get up, start running, start moving, but just saying, you know what, I'm going to sit here and rest. I'm going to sit here and meditate. I'm going to sit here and hear from God. Like sometimes it can be as simple as that. Sometimes we make stuff deeper or more extravagant than what it really is. So again, and my encouragement for you guys as you get ready to move towards the next year, the next phase, the next season of your life, settle down, identify where you are, be real, be open, be honest with yourself, and start. That's oftentimes the hardest part in anything we do, is starting. That's the hardest part. We can list a number of things right now, and we can ask ourselves, well, why haven't I done this? Why haven't I fulfilled this? Why haven't I finished this? Because the hardest part is starting. And then the next hardest part is being consistent. And I'm guilty of it. There's a lot of things that I was like, man, I need to do this. I need to start doing this. I need to start doing that. I need to start working out. I need to start eating better. I need to start doing this. And it's 2 months later, I still haven't started. Not that I didn't want to start, but it's just that was the hardest part. Let's go back a little bit, because we get comfortable pleasing our flesh. It feels good to eat, go to sleep after you done ate a good meal, and wake up and get you a snack and do something else, and then continue that cycle. Is it the best for you? Probably not. But there are certain things, again, that feels good, but it don't mean that it's best for you. And again, that's a cycle that has to be broken. Identify where you are. If you have that problem, identify it, correct it, own it. Own up to where you are. Own up to your mistakes. Own up to the things that you struggle with. If you can't own up to it, you're never going to overcome it. And no matter what it is, if you can't own up to it, you're never going to overcome it. So this is the place that I desire for you guys to grow into, to come into as you start entering this next phase, this next season, 2023. So that you don't just start making the post, this is my year. This is the time that I'm about to start doing this. I'm about to be 29 and fine. I'm got my summer body ready. I'm about to start doing this. All that stuff is out the window. Ain't no more talking about it. It's time to be about it. Identify where you are. Be open, be honest, be real with yourself. And once you can do that, start. Once you start, begin to be consistent in what you started. And I'm preaching to myself too. Maybe we can start some type of weekly thing to encourage each other, to help each other start and help each other be consistent in where we've started. If you started school, begin to be consistent in studying. Developing habits. That's what consistency is. Being able to develop a habit and continue to do something. Not just do something, but to be efficient, be productive, be effective. All of those things is part of it comes with being consistent. Because you can be consistent in bad things. But the desire for you guys is not to be consistent in bad things. Is to break the cycles, break the bad habits, develop better habits, develop good habits. Start wherever it is that you're supposed to start and be consistent in developing good habits, be consistent in being productive, be consistent in being efficient and effective, be consistent in those areas. And the stuff that we talked about when we first started about you being in purpose, the byproducts of you doing purpose, doing the will of God, then you'll see that. One of the things that we have to learn how to stop doing is chasing the things that we think benefits us, but actually keeps us in the cycle of taking 3 steps forward and 5 steps backwards. Because we're chasing everything except what we're supposed to be focused on. What is your why? That's a question that we don't always ask ourselves. You can ask yourself why just about every day in everything that you do. If you walk into the kitchen, you can ask yourself why. If you finna start your car up, you can ask yourself why. Everything that you do, you can ask yourself why. And I guarantee you can find an answer for it. Now, here's why I'm telling you this. It's because sometimes we're doing things without a why. We're just doing it off of impulse, or we feel like, okay, man, you know what, man, I want to go. I just want to go do this with no cause, with no why, just because. There's a lot of people who spend their whole life doing that. Just doing stuff just because. They don't even have a why. What's your reason? What's your purpose for doing what it is that you're doing? And what you'll find and realize is that as long as you do that, you're going to continue to stay in a cycle of whatever it is or wherever it is that you are. What I desire for you guys for 2023, as you go into the new year, is for you to be a cycle breaker. Develop good habits, healthy habits, productive habits, efficient habits, effective habits, habits that will bring change, habits that will change lives, habits that can change the world, habits that will change your environment, habits that will impact every person that walks next to you. You can do that. You can do that. But you got to identify where you are. Be real, be open, be honest with yourself. And as you do that, you'll find out how much better you will become. You will find out and see how much more you can accomplish. How many more lives you can change, you can impact. And the other good thing about that is you stop putting the blame on everybody else, but you're now able to see yourself and say, I could have done better. Because sometimes we end up in these relationships, we end up in these positions, we end up in certain places just because we didn't make the right decision, because we didn't ask ourselves why. Because we didn't pray about it. So we end up in these places and we start to blaming the people. But as you grow, as you begin to break cycles, as you begin to develop these good habits and better habits and start bettering yourself and identifying who you are, knowing who you are in Christ, walking in purpose and doing these other things, then now you're in a position where you can analyze everything that passes you, every opportunity that comes to you. You can fully and thoroughly analyze it so that the best decision can be made. That's going to not just be a good thing for you, but even those who come after you. That's my desire for you guys. 2023 is going to have its ups, it's going to have its downs. I'm not going to be the one that get on here and be like, 2023 is going to be your year. That's not what I'm going to do. One thing you're going to always hear from Kirby Love is transparency, honesty. I'm going to keep it real with y'all because I desire for everybody to be their best. Not the motivational best type thing. I'm talking about the true you who God created. That's your best. I talked about this in another episode about taking on identity of other people. But I've also said before, the best version of you is the one that God created. That's you at your best, operating as that person. But you have to understand that over time, you develop certain habits, you develop certain ways that come from other people, and that's not who you truly are. And that's why you have to be born again. That's why you have to identify who you are. That's why you have to know your purpose, your calling, your assignment, those who you're called to. So that is what you can walk in. That is the thing that you need to walk in. That's when you're at your best. Anything outside of that is subpar. And you can do it really well. I tell people that you can become better at who you learn how to be than who you're supposed to be. You can become better at who you learn how to be than who you're supposed to be. Here's why. Now, this doesn't mean that the better that you're walking in is better than who you are. It just means that who you really are, you haven't fully exercised and operated in that place. You've learned how to become. You've learned how to do other things. So therefore, there has been a development of strengths in who you've learned how to be. There has been a development of a whole nother character, of a whole nother person. Prime example, I can learn how to be a great athlete. But is a full-time, full-blown athlete really who I am? I can learn how to do something really, really good. But who I really am, I have no efforts, I have no practice, I have no training, I have none of that over here. This is why you're better at who you learn how to be than who you really are. Because you don't service this side at all. You always serving who you're learning how to be. So whoever you're learning how to be, you can become very great at it. You can learn how to be a liar and be a great liar. But is that who you are? That's the understanding of that. You don't want to become better at who you learn how to be. You want to become better at who you are. You want to function at your best at who you are, not who you've learned how to be. All of that is taking on false identity. And you can become really good at manipulating people. You can become really good at saying the things that you need to say, which is manipulation, just to get exactly what you want. And then at some point, there's going to be a brick wall. And what's going to happen is you're going to have to eventually come back to this person right here. And this is why a lot of people are 35, 40, 45 years old. They became so great at who they learned how to be, but there was no work in who they were. There was no work in who they really were. So at 45, it's like you look at people, you're like, man, you're 45 years old. You don't know how to, like, what's going on? And this is not me talking about people who are older and things like that. And again, we're all in growing places. I'm still growing myself. But the reason we see certain people at an older age, 45, 50, and all these different things, who sometimes still don't know where they are and who they are, is because they learned how to be somebody else for a long time and they became really good at it. And then at some point, that person ran out. Who they really were was never developed, never grew, never matured to its full potential, to its full capacity, so that they can execute and who they are at their best. That's why we see that. Be honest with yourself. Where you are. Be real. Be open. Be honest. Identify where you are. So that going into this next season, this next phase of your life, you don't stay in a cycle of the same things, same relationships, same starting, quitting, not finishing, not completing. I'm declaring for the next year, for the next phase of your life, that you're going to be a cycle breaker and that you're going to complete everything that you start. I'm declaring that right now for you. We're done with this my year. No. You finna put in the work. You're about to start. That's your word for the day. If you don't get anything out of this podcast today, remember these words. Identify where you are. Be real, be open, be honest. And start. That's what we're doing today. We're starting. We're starting a journey. We're starting a mission. We're starting in purpose. And we're not just starting. We're being consistent. We're not just being consistent. We are completing tasks. We are completing assignments. You want to get inspired? That's some inspiration for you. One thing you're going to learn about me, if you listen to me long enough, I'm going to always push you to be better than you thought you could be. I'm going to always push you and challenge you to do more than what you've already done. I'm going to always do that. But you have to want the better. You have to want the corrections. You have to want what's next. You have to see what's next. And you have to become who you are, not who you learn how to be. You have to become the best at who you are. And everything that you normally would put on a vision board, you no longer have to do that. because that's a byproduct of you walking in who you are. I'm going to say that again. The things that you normally put on your vision boards, you no longer have to put there, because those are byproducts of you walking in who you really are. You being who you really are. Not who you learn how to be, but who you really are. And that's my encouragement for you guys going into this new year, this next phase of your life. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have challenging times. But remember, as I talked about at the beginning, those are not the issues. The issue is the mindset that you have to deal with the problems. Are you going to be an accuser of everybody else and not point the finger at yourself? Are you going to sit down and just mope and whine and say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm just tired, Or are you going to get up, fix your face, and try again? Are you going to look in the mirror and say, that was on me? Are you going to own it? If not, then guess what? You're setting yourself up to continue a cycle or to start a cycle. And when I said start, that's one thing that we're not starting in this next phase. There's another cycle of bad habits, of quitting, of doing the things because that's just what we always did, and not knowing the why it was always done. 2023 is going to be a year of you completing things. You're going to see it all the way through. You're going to start and you're not going to quit. You're going to start and you're going to finish. And after you finish, you're going to start again. And after you start again, you're going to be consistent and you're going to finish. That's my desire for you guys. So, this is the final episode of season 1. And I pray that you guys have been encouraged, that you've been inspired to identify where you are. To be real, be open, be honest with yourself. Break cycles. Start, be consistent, and finish. Until next time, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Season 2 on the way. Peace.
Everything that we do reflects a lifestyle. I go hard for God daily cause I'm God's child. I got a purpose that I'm doing on purpose. Firm foundation, 10 toes meet the surface. Something always happen when I bless his name. My faith got me standing tall like Great Danes. Holy Spirit's in the room. We don't have to light a candle. Go ahead and let your light shine. And treat the word as a handle. Holy Spirit's in the room. We don't have to light a candle. Go ahead and let your light shine. And treat the word as a handle.